50 Cent decided to wake up this Saturday, February 7th, on the dark side of the bed once again. And if you follow, you know I done spoke on that before, how I feel 50 Cent does not wake up on the wrong side of the bed in the morning. He wakes up on the dark side. And I say at least about half the month, maybe about 15 days, he gonna get it to the capital C's and go at some.
That was King Harris talking real bold just weeks back. And now it looks like he's trying to circle back to the same man he called out. Word on the street is 50 Cent is putting together a documentary that could seriously rock the Harris family. And if even a piece of what people are saying turns out true, this situation could spiral quick and get real ugly. And King might end up wishing he never said a single thing, because every clip, every post, every jab is starting to come back around. So what really went down and what still got people talking? Early March 2026 is when the chatter started heating up, with reports saying 50 Cent was working on a documentary, possibly titled Surviving T.I. and Tiny. That title alone had people raising eyebrows and asking questions. But here's the twist. Before any of that even dropped, King Harris was already in full attack mode, going back and forth with 50 nonstop. He didn't just talk, he turned it into a whole campaign. Videos, diss tracks, custom t-shirts, even a cannabis product. All of it aimed straight at 50 Cent like he was trying to prove a point loud and clear. This wasn't just light trolling at all. It turned into a full-blown campaign, loud and nonstop. And to really understand how things went from confidence to straight pressure, you have to look closely at what King was saying and doing before any documentary talk even started. The rumors didn't come out of nowhere either. This wasn't your usual rap back and forth. It got personal in a way most people in hip-hop try to avoid because certain lines just don't get crossed. But here they did. For example, when 50 posted an unflattering photo of King's mother, Tiny Harris, King fired back in a viral video saying, "Yo mama dead, dig that. So how you praise? I'm not raised like that." That clip spread everywhere fast. But he didn't stop there. King took it even further and aimed directly at 50 Cent's late mother, Sabrina Jackson, who passed away in a fire when 50 was still a child. And even while saying, "Don't go,"
yourself, you embarrassing yourself. You are embarrassing.
So tell your mama dig her up and post a picture that look better than mama.
I'm not going about my mama. I'm not going. He still stepped into territory people usually don't touch. That's when everything shifted. People started calling out the contradiction, protecting his own mother while speaking on someone else's who isn't here to respond. That difference didn't sit right, and the public reaction hit hard. And that right there is exactly why 50 decided to take things to a whole different level. King didn't hold back at all. He even said, "So tell your dead mama, dig her up and post a picture that looked better than mine." That one line alone had people completely stunned, and it didn't stop with just words either. King pushed it further by wearing a t-shirt featuring Sabrina Jackson's image, then took it up another notch by releasing a cannabis strain called Miss Jack Pack, using her likeness on the packaging. On top of that, he dropped diss tracks like Drop Top, where he said, "You were made from 50 cents because your mama gave it cheap." That whole run had the internet going crazy. The reactions came in heavy, and people were divided, but not evenly. A small group saw it as a young man standing up for his family, but most people saw a 21-year-old chasing attention by going after someone who isn't here anymore. That perception stuck, and it mattered more than anything. And 50 Cent, he's known for playing the long game. Every single move King made got noticed, clipped, saved, screenshots, reposts, breakdowns. Everything was being collected and watched closely like this was building up to something bigger. Nothing disappeared. Nothing got forgotten. That digital trail turned into something serious real fast. It became receipts, a full record that couldn't just be erased or brushed off later. So when talk about the documentary started heating up, those old clips and posts didn't feel old anymore. They looked like evidence. The story started to tell itself. King pushed things way too far, and now everything was sitting there for the world to replay again and again. And 50, he might have found the smartest way to respond without even saying much at all. That's why the idea of King trying to shut this documentary down actually makes sense. It's pressure building from every angle. But this situation didn't even start with King. It goes way deeper than that. To really understand it, you have to rewind all the way back to the beginning, before King was even old enough to be part of any of this. This whole thing traces back to two major names in hip-hop who came up at the same time but from totally different worlds. In 2003, 50 Cent dropped Get Rich or Die Trying, telling the story of surviving 9 shots and rising out of Queens, New York. That same year, T.I. released Trap Music, helping shape Atlanta's sound and claiming his title as the King of the South. Both dominated their lanes, both built strong, loyal fan bases, and both were moving in a system where New York versus the South wasn't just talk. It affected sales, radio play, and who really got recognized at the top. He summed it up simple, saying, "Nah, my kids ride now," making it clear they were standing up for the family no matter what. That kind of statement hits in hip-hop culture, where loyalty means everything. But at the same time, it quietly backed King's actions. Actions that were starting to push people away instead of pulling them in. And that's where the real problem showed up. This wasn't just about energy or being loud. It was about control. King stepped into a situation that needed patience, timing, and calculated moves, but instead, he kept escalating everything. Every new video, every product drop, every diss track, it all added more pressure, but it didn't actually move him forward.
Tip, but this is about another kind of tip that can help our mothers, our sisters, our brothers, and our fathers help get the perpetrators who commit crimes against them off the streets. All you got to do is call Crime Stoppers Atlanta. Tips can be anonymous, and there's even a reward. The number to Crime Stoppers Atlanta is 404-577-8477. That's 404-577-TIP.
It just made the situation bigger without giving him any real advantage. And here's the biggest issue. 50 Cent didn't even have to respond. King's actions were speaking loud enough on their own. Every move made King look more unpredictable, while at the same time making whatever 50 decided to do next feel more justified in the public's eyes. That imbalance kept growing with every single post, every clip, every reaction. Then the backlash hit, and it hit fast and loud. Most people agreed on one thing. King crossed a serious line by mocking someone who passed away, no matter how the situation started. People saw that as completely different from going at someone who can respond, and that gap made everything feel worse. And when you really look at it, the difference stood out even more. King, just 21, going at 50 Cent, a 50-year-old media powerhouse who's been playing the long game for decades. That contrast alone changed how people viewed the entire situation. Meanwhile, 50 barely responded with music at all. Instead, he played it cool, posting memes, dropping slick captions, and teasing the situation with lines like, "LOL, they are gonna learn to leave me alone." That contrast was impossible to miss. While the Harris side kept flooding everything with non-stop content, 50 stayed calm, calculated, and let the tension build by itself. And that silence, that wasn't random, it was strategy. 50 has moved like this before. He lets people talk, lets them go too far, and then comes back in a way they can't match. It's a pattern he's used for years, and this time, it wasn't about dropping a diss track. It was about something way bigger. Because if diss tracks are like shots in a rap battle, a documentary is a full takeover. Then, in early March 2026, rumors started spreading fast about a project possibly called Surviving T.I. and Tiny. That title alone had people talking heavy, because it echoes Surviving R. Kelly, a series that had a huge impact on public opinion. This didn't feel like entertainment. It felt serious, like an expose in the making. And 50 added even more fuel to it. In a now-deleted post, he hinted at what was coming, saying, "Remember how quiet I got before the documentary? I hope this doesn't mess up your promo tour. They're gonna ask about your 20 sexual assault cases." That line made people stop and pay attention immediately. The allegations he referenced go back to 2021, when multiple women accused T.I. and Tiny of serious misconduct. Lawsuits followed, and the situation made headlines. However, many of those cases were later dismissed due to legal technicalities, and there have been no convictions. Still, just bringing that topic back into the spotlight changed everything and made the idea of a documentary feel a lot more real and a lot more intense. T.I. and Tiny have denied everything, saying any situations involve consent. But here's the reality. A documentary doesn't need a conviction. It just needs a story. And when claims get packaged into a polished emotional narrative, it can completely reshape how the public sees someone overnight. And 50, he has all the tools to do exactly that. The potential impact here could be massive. T.I. didn't just build a name in music, he built a full brand. Business moves, community work, public image, all of that could be shaken by a project like this. We're talking about possible effects on deals, partnerships, and even how his legacy is viewed long term. And King? He wouldn't be untouched by any of this either. His career is closely tied to his family name, so if that name takes a hit, it follows him too. That means labels could hesitate, collaborators might step back, and opportunities could start fading fast. But here's the twist that makes this even more intense. Everything King did to defend his family might have actually made things worse. Every video, every lyric, every product, it all adds to the bigger picture. Those same clips that were meant to defend could easily be flipped and used as examples against them. What was supposed to be protection could end up working against the entire family. There were even reports suggesting I was deeply shaken by how far this situation went, while others described King as someone who stepped into something way bigger than he expected. And whether King actually tried to reach out to 50 or not hasn't been confirmed. But honestly, it wouldn't be surprising at all, given how fast everything escalated.
You and 50 got a beef or something, man? Because I seen a post today where they were saying that you were supposed to be in, I guess one of the Power, what's the name? I guess two of the actors on the show said that you were actually supposed to be on the show, and then they replaced you with Method Man, and they weren't expecting it or something.
No,
like
that's not true. 50 and I, we were executive producers on a different show outside of the Power universe. But nah, man, me and 50 cool.
This situation moved way beyond music into something much heavier. And lately, there's been a noticeable shift. King, who was everywhere at the peak of the drama, has gone quiet. The diss track slowed down. The loud moves started fading, and that intense energy cooled off fast. Nobody knows for sure what caused it. Maybe advice from people around him, maybe pressure building up, or maybe reality just started to hit. But the change is impossible to ignore. T.I., though, he hasn't backed down at all. He responded to all the documentary talk with confidence, even throwing out a challenge like, "Go doc for doc." That kind of response could mean he's not worried, or it could be a way to stay strong publicly and keep control of the narrative. Either way, this situation isn't about music anymore, not even close. It's about image, power, and who gets to tell the story moving forward. And what might be manageable for someone with decades of experience hits very different for a 21-year-old still figuring things out. Just weeks ago, King was loud, confident, and fully in attack mode. He seemed sure the Harris name was strong enough to handle anything 50 Cent could throw. But here's the reality, it doesn't work the same way. Diss tracks and documentaries don't hit equally. A diss track burns hot for a moment, maybe a few days, then it fades. But a documentary, that sticks around. It gets streamed, shared, debated, and brought up years later. That's a completely different level of impact. King stepped into this ready for a direct clash, but what he got was a media war. And going up against someone who knows how to build media empires from the ground up, that's a whole different kind of challenge. Online reactions have been all over the place. Some people are giving 50 credit for staying patient and playing it smart, even calling the documentary move a final checkmate. But others are looking at it from a completely different angle. They're pointing out the imbalance. You've got a 50-year-old media figure with major resources going head-to-head with a 21-year-old who's still building his name. That difference stands out, and people are paying attention to it. It raises real questions, too. The age gap, the influence gap, the reach, it's all hard to ignore. And beyond just this situation, there's a bigger conversation happening in hip-hop right now. The culture has always respected boldness, energy, and standing your ground. But things have evolved. Today's top names aren't just artists anymore. They're brands, executives, and full media forces. The tools they use go way beyond music, and that changes how these situations play out. Because a documentary, that's not just a moment. It can completely reshape how people see you for years. And that's the environment King stepped into when he started posting those videos. He was moving by one set of rules, thinking it was a direct clash. But 50 was operating on a totally different level the whole time. There's also a bigger question about strategy on 50's side. If this documentary is real, it's not just about the feud at all. It builds buzz, creates content, keeps his name trending, and reinforces that image of someone you don't want problems with. And at this point, even the idea of the documentary alone has already shifted everything. That right there, that's real power. That's the kind of power where you don't even have to say much. People react on their own. And for King, this might end up being the biggest lesson of all when it comes to this industry. Because it's not about who talks the loudest. It's about who holds the most leverage. King came in with energy, words, and non-stop reactions. But 50, he came with platforms, reach, and a track record of turning situations into major moments that stick. And if those reports about King stepping back are true, that's not weakness at all. That's awareness. That's realizing just how big this situation really got and understanding the level he was stepping into. The real question now is, did that realization come too late? If you made it this far, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video so more people can see what's really going on. And don't forget to drop a comment below. I want to hear your take on this whole situation. That tension didn't have to be loud to be real. It was there the whole time. For years, things stayed quiet between them. No direct shots, no messy public drama, just two heavyweights moving in the same space, keeping it respectful, or at least neutral. But everything shifted around 2020 when Verzu's battles started taking over during the pandemic. Created by Swizz Beatz and Timbaland, these matchups had legends going hit for hit live online. And T.I. made it very clear, he wanted 50 Cent. T.I. pushed for it hard. He even compared it to the iconic 2007 showdown between 50's Curtis and Kanye West's Graduation. saying it would be that same level, step for step. And he didn't just mention it once, he brought it up everywhere. Podcasts, interviews, live streams, he kept the pressure on and refused to drop it. But 50? He kept shutting it down again and again. He made it clear he wasn't interested at all. Instead, he pointed to his success in TV, especially with the Power franchise, making it seem like he had moved past music battles completely. To him, Versus just wasn't worth his time anymore. And that's where things started to sting. It wasn't just the rejection, it was how 50 said it. He didn't simply say no, he made it sound like the whole idea didn't even deserve attention, like it wasn't on his level. And for T.I., someone who built his reputation as a Southern rap leader, that kind of dismissal felt personal. This wasn't seen as casual indifference. It felt like a direct shot. He didn't see it as nothing. He saw it as disrespect. So the tension never really went away. It just stayed under the surface. Not explosive, not fully out in the open, but always there. Little exchanges, subtle shots, just enough to keep things simmering and uncomfortable. Then February 2026 hit and everything flipped. I pulled up on Shannon Sharp's Nightcap podcast and made a bold claim that instantly got people talking. He accused 50 Cent of being scared, saying there were private conversations where 50 originally agreed to do Versus, only to back out when it came time to go public. And just like that, the quiet tension turned loud. T.I. followed it up with a diss track called Let 'Em Know, and he didn't play it safe at all. He shot the video right in New York City, 50's home turf, which already sent a loud message by itself. Then the lyrics came in heavy, going straight at 50's age, his move into acting, and what T.I. described as cracks in that tough guy image. But 50 didn't respond with music, not even a little. Instead, he switched tactics completely. He reached back and dropped a resurfaced clip from a 2003 legal situation involving T.I., changing the direction of the whole situation without saying a word on a track. That clip came with a heavy implication: cooperation with law enforcement. And just like that, 50 stamped a label that hits hard in hip-hop. Snitch! That word carries serious weight. It's not just an insult, it puts everything into question. Credibility, image, the whole story someone built. And with one move, 50 flipped the entire situation on its head. This wasn't about hits or albums anymore, not even close. It turned into something deeper, something personal. It became about T.I.'s character. And that exact moment is where everything shifted for real. From there, things started spiraling fast. Family members got pulled into it, diss tracks started stacking up, and lines that usually don't get crossed were crossed anyway. Then out of nowhere, talk of a documentary entered the picture, making everything feel even bigger. And if you trace it all back, it leads to that one shift, when the focus moved away from music and landed on reputation. Once it got to that point, there was no turning back at all. This wasn't competition anymore. It became a battle over who could leave the deepest mark. But here's where things got uneven. T.I. had the music, the respect, the voice in hip-hop. But 50 Cent, he had media power, a full production machine behind him ready to move. And that difference changed everything moving forward. While T.I. could respond through songs, 50 had the ability to shape the entire narrative on a much bigger stage. And that kind of power hits different. That imbalance set the tone for everything that came next, and it made every move from the Harris side way more risky. One wrong step could turn into something bigger fast. The first person from T.I.'s family to jump all the way into this situation without really thinking through the consequences was his son, King Harris. And once King stepped in, things escalated quickly. This stopped being just between two artists almost instantly. Now it was a full family situation playing out online for everyone to see. Every post, every clip, every reaction, it was all unfolding in real time across social media, with people watching and reacting nonstop. King Harris, born August 25th, 2004, grew up in the spotlight. Yeah, they right, he was already known by the public from a young age. He appeared on the VH1 reality show, T.I. and Tiny, The Family Hustle, which ran for years and gave viewers a close look inside their home life. People felt like they knew him before he even stepped into his own spotlight. By the time this situation heated up, King was 21, old enough to speak for himself and stand on his own, but still young enough to move off emotion instead of careful strategy. He already had a reputation for speaking his mind, too. On the show, there were moments where he openly challenged his parents during intense conversations, and people noticed that bold energy. And that same boldness, it followed him straight into this situation and turned the volume all the way up. The exact moment that pulled King fully into the conflict was clear as day. During one of the exchanges with T.I., 50 Cent posted an unflattering photo of Tiny Harris on Instagram, and that crossed into personal territory instantly. Going after someone's partner, especially in front of millions, changed the tone fast, and the Harris family wasn't about to stay quiet. King and his older brother Damani both stepped in right away, but they moved very differently. Damani showed some restraint, kept it more controlled, but King came in loud, emotional, and non-stop. His video targeting 50 Cent's late mother spread across the internet within hours. The message was intense, repeated again and again to make sure it hit exactly how he wanted, and it definitely got attention. But not the kind that builds respect. Instead, it created pressure and put a spotlight on him for all the wrong reasons. People weren't reacting the way he expected, and that shift was obvious. And instead of slowing down, King pushed even harder. The t-shirts, the cannabis product, the diss tracks, it just kept coming back to back. Altogether, the Harris side dropped around 6 diss tracks aimed at 50, with King leading the charge on songs like Drop Top, going straight at 50's personal past. Damani added his own verses too, bringing a different tone, while T.I. himself released multiple tracks, some highlighting his catalog, others taking shots at 50's move into television and film. T.I. also spoke on the situation in interviews, and his response was mixed. He admitted he didn't like seeing his sons pulled into negativity, but at the same time, he respected their loyalty and why they felt the need to step in.